Alright, what's up guys? I'm here with another tutorial for Procreate on the iPad. This time I'm drawing a Viking picture. I'm thinking like a ritual or something. Kind of like that band Hylung or whatever. So I started out with a new layer on top of the background and I just drew it black, and I'm using the Nico roll brush that for most of this picture actually. That and the airbrush. And I pretty much get the whole layer kind of blacked out with some texture. It can't be the background layer because that starts messing with the picture if you do that. So the background has to stay white, then you make a whole new layer black. And then I started making layers and setting some depth with the horizon there. Just adding more and more layers. A few shades darker. As you get closer to the picture, you start with light in the distance and then darker closer you get to the foreground. So the background layers, like the trees and stuff, they aren't really detailed. So as I get closer, like from the midground more forward, I'll start adding more and more detail. So you can see I did, grass and branches and stuff. And it just gives the effect of texture throughout the picture and in the background. Everything I'm doing right now is kind of like one color scale, and it's kind of just making it easier and keeping the same vibe to this whole picture. And then I'll just inject some color like sparsely during editing or something after the photo's finished. But this stage is also really loosely drawn. I'm just kind of getting ideas as I go, really just focusing on the darkest shadows and the lightest highlights, and then you go back and you keep refining it, and surprisingly it ends up starting to look more like something. Getting to this stage is the hardest part because you're trying to look for that inspiration and stuff, and to keep going and keep building on all this. So it's really easy to just get frustrated and stop. But if you just keep pushing through that and just keep adding, keep going, keep refining, and eventually, I don't know, I find myself just getting into the zone, and I just zone out and I start just doodling, I don't know, and the pictures start coming along. But I'm always starting with like the darkest shadows and just a highlight. Drawing digitally is cool because even though sometimes my proportions are out of whack, I could go and use the selection tool and then start warping. Like her face and her head didn't look right. She kind of looked a little manly, and I was trying to get her to look more feminine and trying to shape her head differently. And you could do that with the selection tool, and it's just so much faster than erasing and starting over. And it could get you close and then give you more ideas, and then you just instantly start building on that, and it helps a lot speed up the process. Right here I just shift her position a little bit with the distort tool, and she looks more at a better angle. Now drawing this Viking guy beating a drum, you could just see how I start really loose. Weirdly, I don't really sketch it out too much. But proportions are hard, and that's just something that comes with a lot of drawing and a lot of hours into it. I'm not trying to go for a lot of detail here. I'm just pretty much making them very dark. It's like an eerie photo, so it kind of helps out. I'm just doing everything like 80 to 90% detail. So you don't really need to be photorealistic in order to look cool. I don't know. You just have to have the setting right and lighting and effects and stuff to get your point across. Adding the fringe to the drummer's sleeves really helped give the illusion of movement, like he's in mid-swing. It's kind of hard to portray that in just a still photo, so you use stuff like that to your advantage. Now I'm just going back over all my previously drawn stuff with some brighter highlights and really trying to get the picture to pop. I was kind of aware that the foreground looked a little bit too clean compared to the rest of the picture, how foggy it was. So all these characters are on separate layers, like the shield, the girl, the drummer, all that stuff, so I could tweak stuff individually. So that's kind of a good tip. But you know, there's fog layers behind them with the airbrush, and I'll actually put a layer in front of them and use the airbrush, and it gives the same effect, and it sets them in the picture, you know. The only thing is with the airbrush, and if you set some layers to specific properties like screen or overlay and stuff like that, you can't select a color off the background because it's not actually the color that's underneath those layers. So if you know you want it like this dark green, it's actually black behind the picture. So I was having a hard time actually drawing like the runes and stuff on top of like the rocks and things, because by this time I had so many layers that, you know, what I was selecting wasn't the actual color of what that stuff was. So it's just weird. It's hard to get used to, but that's just something with digital painting. You have to get good at ordering your layers and stuff and keeping track of that, which I never do. I never label them, but I should, because once you get like 15, 20, it gets really confusing. So one of the final things is I just set a really dark foreground layer, and it kind of makes it give the illusion that you're like looking through like over a hilltop or something down into a picture. It just adds a lot of depth, you know. And then I use airbrush with like a orange or like a reddish color behind that, and it just gives even more depth to it, you know. And then I edit the photo afterwards in photo editing to tweak it to the colors that I kind of was envisioning in the beginning. But yeah, I don't know, I think this picture came out really cool. It was so fun to draw. Hope you guys liked it. Please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think of this, and if you guys have any tips for any other artists out there. And catch you next time.